Most leaders know that the idea of work-life balance is a myth. There's no such thing as having a perfectly balanced life if you're building a business or leading an organization. But all too often, leaders prioritize their professional life over their personal life, thinking that's just what they have to do to get through another day or another week or another quarter. And then they look up years later and realize that they neglected or even sacrificed some of the things that actually matter the most: their relationships, their health, even their own heart. And that's why I believe the best leaders, the ones who are successful across all domains of life, have learned to prioritize their personal life, which ultimately makes them even more successful in their professional life. Welcome to the Matt Ware Show, a podcast for leaders who want more and won't settle for less. Straight talk to help you lead better, live bolder, and not lose yourself in the process. If you're serious about going to the next level in life and leadership, you're in the right place. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Matt Ware Show. Listen, I am passionate about helping leaders grow personally and professionally. But the irony is that in my experience, it usually only works one direction. If you get really intentional about your personal growth, you will almost guaranteed experience professional growth as well. But if you only focus on professional growth, you may or may not really grow personally. Isn't that interesting? You know, the leaders that I've known throughout my life, whether they were mentors who I look up to, maybe they were peers who I was leading alongside of, maybe they were just the people who were coming behind me, who I was developing and I was coaching. The ones that were always intentional to grow personally almost always ended up growing professionally too. And the ones that didn't really care about anything but business, they didn't care about anything but work. They didn't care about anything but money. They didn't care about anything other than just, growth for the sake of growth. I just crush another quarterly earnings call, another annual investor meeting. They may have gotten some numbers for a while, but most of the time they didn't end up really being better people. They might have gotten richer, but they didn't necessarily get wealthier. You understand what I'm saying? They may have grown professionally, but they didn't really grow personally. And I want to talk about this idea of prioritizing the personal today. Prioritizing the personal. And really this comes as something of a follow-up, I think, to last week's episode about stress. And by the way, if you missed that one, pause this right now, go back and listen or watch that one, because there really was some good stuff in there about the impact of stress. The idea of good stress and bad stress, how we have to live between this place of having zero stress, which sometimes people think is the goal, or having this crippling, debilitating stress. Not all stress is created equal, right? There is a stress that will take you down, but there's also a stress that'll lift you up. There's a stress that will break you, and there's a stress that will build you. And another delineation of stress that we didn't talk about last week, but I want to talk about a little bit today, is that there is work stress and there's home stress. Right? There's professional stress and there's personal stress. And I hadn't really planned on talking about this today. This was not, like in the lineup of content that I developed, this idea of prioritizing your personal life. But over the last, week or so, I've just had so many conversations with leaders about this, leaders who are struggling. And they're not struggling so much with professional stress, although that's always there. I mean, we know that. It doesn't go away. But really what they're struggling with is personal stress and the effects of that. Things that are not work-related but are affecting their work. Health issues, relationship issues, purpose issues, meaning issues, now what issues. Leaders who are carrying past trauma in some form or another, debilitating stress and chronic fatigue, feeling overwhelmed, not just with business, but really with life. And they don't always use this word, but some of them really are on the edge of burnout in some form or another. And, of course, there's exceptions to this, but burnout is not usually the result of simply working too much. Burnout is the result of being under too much distress for too long. And it's usually not professional stress, or at least not purely professional. It's personal stress. Here's the truth. More leaders have more problems with personal issues than with professional issues. And yet they put more time, more attention, more energy, more resources into the professional side than they do into the personal side. Not realizing that over the long haul, it is their personal life that will end up derailing their professional life. Now, intuitively, we know this, right? I mean, of course, a health crisis or a serious family dysfunction or a relationship breakdown, chronic fatigue, those are the kinds of personal issues and challenges that can distract us from what we're doing, from making our biggest impact, and they can even ultimately derail us in our work, in our profession. We know that. Okay, somewhere in the back of our minds, we know this. And of course, there's a lot of research around this. There's a lot of resources out there that talk about this. What I'm talking about today, it's not exactly a groundbreaking idea, breakthrough idea. I know I'm not the first person to bring this up. But most leaders, in my experience, most entrepreneurs, most business owners still, even with all that research out there, they still tend to prioritize their professional life over their personal life. And, we have to understand that, yes, you do have to work hard to build a business. Okay? I'm not taking anything away from that. I'm not one of those, just sit around and meditate and manifest your way to an 8 or 9 figure business, right? Building something, leading something requires something of you. It requires a sacrifice of time and energy and money, probably more than you ever expected, more than you ever planned on. And there's no avoiding that. Okay, leadership only works when leaders work. There's an exchange that takes place. I work more in order to move the business forward, in order to position us better financially, in order to get to the next level of growth or complete this project or finalize this deal or whatever it is. Can we do that in the belief that this trade-off is going to be worth it, right? The extra effort, the extra time, the extra sacrifice, there's going to be a payoff on the other side that makes the sacrifice worth it. But there's a shadow side to that. The trade-off comes with a price. And if you live this way indefinitely, meaning it's not for a specific period of time, it's just a way of life. If you live this way indiscriminately, meaning you don't pick and choose carefully what is worth the sacrifice and what's not, you just work at this level for anything and for everything, I promise you, you will suffer for it. And the people who are close to you will suffer for it too. If you consistently prioritize the professional side of your life, the personal side of your life will suffer. I talked about this in a previous episode, back when this was called the Shift Podcast, an episode about habits. And we were talking about, personal habits and professional habits and all of that. And I made the recommendation in that episode that people actually start by working on personal habits first. And the reason why is because if you as a person are not healthy, nothing in your life is going to be healthy. If your personal life isn't healthy, your professional life will not be healthy either. That's why I believe leaders really do need a shift in their thinking, a change in their mindset. They need to reframe how they look at life, how they look at leadership. And that's what I'm talking about today. Prioritize the personal. I'm working with several clients right now, and I want to be careful what I say because, of course, I don't want to betray their confidence. But the truth is that their businesses are suffering. That's why they want to work with me. But the issue is not really professional as much as it is personal. Their professional life is suffering because their personal life has been ignored so much for so long. Not eating right, not exercising, not sleeping enough, not investing in their most important relationships like their spouse, their kids, their close friends, and their community. Not taking time off, or maybe taking time off in a way that isn't really helpful. Not managing their own financial affairs because they're focused on the financial affairs of the company. Burning the candle at both ends, as my dad always said, thinking that another early morning, another late night, another Saturday at the office, working through another vacation is going to somehow fix it, somehow get them to the next level, somehow push through that barrier. And they wonder why they're on the verge of a total breakdown, meltdown, burnout. Too many leaders have neglected their personal life for so long that now it's affecting their professional life. Not realizing that the issue is not that they need to work more on their business, they need to work more on themselves. They don't need to invest more time and energy into their organization. They need to invest more time and energy into themselves. They don't need to prioritize their professional life. They need to prioritize their personal life. And I want to give you 4 areas of personal life that I believe you have to focus on. You have to prioritize if you're going to be a healthy leader, if you're going to lead well for the long haul, if you want to sustain a life that you love. And the first one is this: you have to prioritize yourself. You have to prioritize yourself. And I know, even as I say that, I know how it sounds. I know how it comes across. I don't even really like saying it, to be honest with you, because it sounds soft. It sounds weak. It sounds like, self-care, but in the worst possible way. I just need me time. I need to focus on me. I need to treat myself. Right? And, if you know me at all, that's not my mindset. That's not my perspective on life, and certainly not on leadership. The phrase prioritize yourself feels like the antithesis of leadership, because the whole point of leadership is that it's not about the leader. It's about the people they lead. Leaders are servants, and so we are necessarily focused on others rather than ourselves. So it sounds counterintuitive to leadership. It sounds selfish. But here's what I've learned. If you aren't healthy yourself, you can't help anyone else. If you can't live well, you can't lead well. So prioritizing yourself is not selfish. It's actually selfish to not prioritize yourself, because if you don't prioritize yourself, your personal life will fall apart and you won't be able to lead anyone because you did not lead yourself. The motivations for why leaders lead fall broadly into 2 categories. There's leaders who are motivated by reward, and there are leaders who are motivated by responsibility. Reward and responsibility. Patrick Lencioni talks about this in his book, The Motive, one of the best books on leadership out there, and would highly recommend that if you've not read that yet. Reward, the motive of reward, really just is the leader asking, what can I get out of this? What's in it for me? But the motive of responsibility is, what can I give to others? How can I serve? How can I make other people better? If you're watching or listening to this, you're probably on the responsibility side, because if you were on the reward side, you wouldn't care about growing in your leadership. You probably lead because you want to serve. You want to help. You want to make an impact. You want to make a difference. Okay, that's the right motivation. The problem is, many leaders who lead from the motivation to give and serve have crossed into martyr territory. They believe that self-sacrifice to an inordinate extent, to an inappropriate degree, is what makes them a good leader. They believe their worth, their value as a leader comes from their suffering. And I want to call that out and tell you, if that's you right now, stop it. Stop being a martyr. If you martyr yourself for too long, there's not going to be any of you left to serve others. Listen, have enough self-respect to prioritize yourself. Other people aren't going to respect you if you don't even respect yourself enough to take care of yourself. If you aren't full, you won't have anything to give. And I promise you, if you are not learning to prioritize yourself in an appropriate, healthy way, it is costing you something. It's costing you something in your life, and it's costing you something in your leadership. Number 2, the second area that I believe we have to prioritize if we're going to prioritize the personal, is that you've got to prioritize your health. Prioritize your health. Listen, taking care of your body is taking care of your business. Because if you don't have energy, if you don't have stamina, if you don't have strength, if you don't have focus, if you're not healthy, you will not be running your business at a very high level, and you will not be running it for a very long period of time. Prioritizing your body is prioritizing your business. And I know a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders who are overweight, they're out of shape, they don't exercise, they don't eat well, all in the name of I need another hour or 2 at work every day. I can't go to the gym because I need to stay later. I need to get in earlier. I don't have time to cook or prepare decent meals. I'm just going to, hit a drive-through on my way to or from the office. I can stay up a little later. I can get up a little earlier to finish this project. Okay, if any of that sounds even vaguely familiar, the issue is that you are trading short-term performance for a long-term problem. And you might get away with it for a day or a week, but you're making withdrawals on an account that you don't know the balance of until one day you wake up and it's overdrawn. And I can tell you story after story of high-level leaders who, at a young age, okay, I'm talking 30s, early 40s, who developed chronic high blood pressure, diabetes, had heart attacks, got cancer, needed surgery. And I know not everything is preventable, of course, but a lot of the health issues we have, especially in 2025 in America, are lifestyle related. Way more than we want to admit. And here's the thing, you think you're saving an hour or two in the short run. You might be costing yourself a year or two in the long run. I mean, what good is the extra hour to work on your business this week if you lose a year of working on your business down the road? It's really hard to run a business from your hospital bed. It's really hard to run a business from a rehab center. And here's the crazy part. Anybody who does take care of themselves physically, they focus on their nutrition and their exercise and their sleep and all of that, they'll tell you any time and effort that they've put into that they've invested into that, they reap the benefit of it in spades in their productivity. You can get more done in less time when you've got energy, when you have stamina, when you feel good. Okay, and just to be clear, I'm not talking about having some crazy, 4-hour morning routine. I don't care if you're a gym rat. I don't care if you run or you do yoga. I'm not advocating, that you have to be about, vanity or looking a certain way or hitting a certain body fat percentage. Okay, I'm not a fitness coach. That's not my lane. What is my lane is helping high-level leaders grow their business and get their life back. And this is a massive miss for so many leaders right now. You have to prioritize your health if you're going to prioritize the personal. The third thing you've got to prioritize is prioritize your family. Prioritize your family. And I know I'm getting into sort of, progressively more touchy subjects here, but I think this is something we need to talk about. And it's something I have some experience with because it's something that I've not always gotten right. Sometimes I'm able to speak to leadership things from a place of strength, from a place of success. And other times I speak to it from a place of my faults and my failures and things that I've learned from missing the mark. And for me, this is an area that I've had to learn in and grow in the hard way, the painful way. I know several high-level leaders right now who are struggling in their families, struggling in their marriages, struggling with their kids in different stages of the parenting journey. And of course, every situation's different. Every situation's nuanced. I'm not a relationship expert by any means. But what I will tell you from my own experience and from what I've seen coaching other leaders over the years is that your family life affects your leadership life more than you even realize. When your personal life is struggling, your professional life will struggle too. And you can try to compartmentalize it. You can try to leave home problems at home. You can try to separate it. But I promise you can only do that so much for so long. And you probably can't do it nearly as well as you think you can. One of my good friends, Quentin Hafner, who is an expert coach for high-performing men, talks about this idea of prioritizing your family if you want to perform well in your work. And I'm not going to quote him exactly, but he says something to the effect of the greatest investment you can make into your business is the investment you make into your family. The greatest investment you make into your business is the investment you make into your family. Why? Because if your family life is solid, if your family life is stable, and I'm not talking about perfect, right? Because no family is perfect. We've all got our issues and quirks and all those things. But if your family life, whatever that looks like for you, spouse, kids, even close friends and community, that's an extension of family. If your family life is a source of joy rather than stress, if it lifts you up rather than weighs you down, if it's a place of peace rather than a place of pain, how much more mental and emotional energy are you going to have? Are you going to free up so that you can focus on growing the organization that you're leading? My observation is that the strongest families, the strongest marriages, the strongest parents, the strongest, family and community units, those are the ones who can build the strongest companies, the strongest organizations. Ultimately, those are the building blocks for the strongest leaders. Listen to me, prioritizing your family is not taking away from your leadership, it's adding to it. Prioritizing the personal makes you perform better in the professional. Okay, prioritizing the personal. That's what we're talking about in this episode. Number one, you've got to prioritize yourself. Number two, prioritize your health. Number three, prioritize your family. Number four, the last one, prioritize your schedule. As a leader, you have to prioritize your schedule. You have to prioritize time to do what really matters, what really moves things forward. Because if you don't control your calendar, you don't control your life. This may be the most practical, tactical of the four things we're talking about today in terms of prioritizing the personal, but it might be the one that makes the other three happen. How are you going to prioritize yourself? How are you going to prioritize your health or your family if you don't even prioritize your schedule, if you don't control your calendar? Too many leaders live in reaction mode, just reacting to whatever's coming in, the emails, the phone calls, the texts, the Slack messages. From the moment they get up in the morning, they're just responding to everyone else's questions or problems or emergencies rather than setting their own priorities and filling the calendar with things that matter to them, matter to their business, matter to their life, rather than what matters to everyone else. Here's the thing. If you don't prioritize your time, someone else will. If you don't control your calendar, someone else will. Whether that's a client or a vendor or your team, somebody else has a plan for your time. Somebody else has a plan for your energy, I promise you. And I know this sounds really basic, but honestly, some of the leaders that I work with struggle with this. So I know this is going to help you if you're in this spot. Just start by determining what days of the week and what hours of those days you're going to work. What part of your schedule is professional time? And I know, because I get pushback from business owners and entrepreneurs all the time on this. Well, it's not that easy. I have to work whenever I need to. If there's a call, I need to take it. If there's a job, I need to be on it. I need to respond to these emails. I need to get these proposals out. I need to take care of these projects. The buck stops with me. If I don't do it, it won't get done. And I would just say, how's that working for you? Is that really the way that you want to live and lead? Or is that maybe a lie that you've been told and a lie that you've told yourself? A few weeks ago, I had a potential client reach out to me on a Friday afternoon, and they texted me, hey, can you talk tomorrow? And my response was, I don't work on the weekend unless it's an emergency, knowing full well that I could miss out on that opportunity, and it would have been a significant financial opportunity. But I just come back to this idea that if I don't prioritize the personal, what will the professional really matter? If I don't prioritize my schedule, if I don't prioritize my health, my family, my sanity, will the extra money really matter? Turns out they were just fine scheduling a call on Monday, and I didn't miss out on anything after all. In fact, their response was, wow, good for you. That's really smart. It actually elevated my status. It elevated my credibility because I held a boundary. Because I was disciplined. I had prioritized myself, and that was reflected on my calendar. And so I would just tell you, get on the schedule what it takes to prioritize the personal. What daily, weekly, monthly, annually, from your morning routine to your gym sessions, to your date nights, to your big vacations, whatever it is, get control of your schedule. What gets scheduled gets done. Use your calendar to prioritize the personal. Listen, I know this might be something of a hot take or a controversial stance. I know most of the leadership and entrepreneurial space, they kind of promote this message. They beat this drum of just, hustle and grind and work hard and sacrifice and leave it all in the field. How bad do you want it? You got to do what other people won't do to get to where other people can't get. And I actually agree with a lot of that. I get it. Yeah, I believe in having a strong work ethic. Leaders do have to work hard. We do have to make sacrifices. All of those things are true. But I've also seen when this goes too far. And I've seen it in my life, and I've seen it in the lives of other people, other leaders that I know. I've walked into those dark places where work became everything, where my health and my family suffered, where my spouse and kids took the brunt of my ambition and my drive, where my mental and emotional and physical and relational health became the offering on the altar of supposed success. And I can just tell you, that's not really success at all. I've prioritized the professional at the expense of the personal. And what I experienced is that ultimately when my personal life suffered, my professional life did too. Maybe not right away, but eventually it caught up to me. And the price was higher than anything I would have ever wanted to pay. So I want to challenge you, if you're a leader watching or listening right now, have goals, have ambitions, have big dreams, have big drive. Don't temper your aspirations. Don't lower your expectations. Don't curb your enthusiasm. But just know that when you grow more personally, that's what unlocks the door to grow more professionally. When you invest in your personal life, your professional life is going to reap the reward for it. I would urge you, implore you, as counterintuitive as this seems, you will perform in your professional life when you prioritize your personal life. Maybe you can tell, maybe you can hear it in my voice that I'm passionate about this, because this is not something that I'm just talking about from a place of good ideas and theory and research. This is something that I have lived, that I am living, and it's something that I see so many leaders struggling with right now. They've emphasized the professional and they've de-emphasized the personal, and now the personal is what's derailing the professional. The sacrifice they thought they have made for one thing is actually biting them in the butt for the other thing. And so I guess I just want to say, like, from a very heartfelt place, would you please, please, please begin to prioritize the personal. Thanks for being with me today on another episode of this podcast. I love being able to challenge and encourage leaders like you. And if you know of another leader who would benefit from this, would you share it with them? Take a moment to rate or review. That helps us get the word out. Follow me at the Matt Ware on all the social channels. And until next time, go lead better and live bolder.